Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into one of the most incredible stories of resilience ever told, the story of Joseph and his journey from a pit all the way to a palace in Egypt. We're going to break down this epic tale from Genesis using the insights of Dr. Kenneth Mathews to really get to the heart of its meaning.
So what's really fascinating is where the story kicks off. It's not actually with Joseph's big adventure. No, before we follow Joseph into Egypt, the narrative zooms in on his brother Judah, and it does this to set up this powerful moral contrast for everything that's about to happen.
And wow, the contrast could not be more dramatic. I mean, on one hand, you have Judah's family line getting all tangled up in this huge moral mess with his daughter-in-law Tamar. But then, right after that story, we get Joseph. And his story is the complete opposite. It's this narrative of incredible honor and faithfulness, even when he's facing some serious temptation.
Now, Joseph's story is not some simple, straight shot to the top. The way it's told is actually pretty brilliant. It's designed as a great descent. So before Joseph can rise, he first has to fall. And I mean really fall, plunging from being the favorite son all the way down to a forgotten prisoner at the very bottom.
This downward spiral happens in three really clear, devastating stages. First, his own brothers betray him and throw him into a cistern. Then, he's literally taken down to Egypt and sold as a slave. And finally, after being framed, he's thrown into the king's prison. I mean, each step just takes him lower and further from everything he's ever known.
But here's the thing. Even as he's falling, the text keeps repeating this one crucial phrase over and over. The Lord was with Joseph. It's this constant reminder that even at his absolute lowest, he's not really alone. In fact, his amazing skill and success, whether he's in Potiphar's house or running the prison, it's all chalked up to this divine presence with him.
And you can really see his character shine when he's being tempted day after day by his master's wife. His response is just incredible. He doesn't just see it as being disloyal to his boss, Potiphar. He sees it fundamentally as a sin against God. His integrity is just absolute.
You know, there's another really cool literary thing going on here. It's all about his clothes. They act like this visual tracker for his entire journey. It starts with that beautiful, ornamented robe, right? A symbol of his father's favor that gets stolen to fake his death. Then, his cloak is ripped away and used as false evidence against him. He wears prison clothes at his lowest point, and then finally, he's dressed in robes of fine linen, showing he's reached the absolute pinnacle of power.
So it's right here, in the total darkness of the prison, literally at rock bottom, that the key to his entire future finally shows up. It's a pretty unique gift, and it all has to do with interpreting dreams.
Okay, so he gets put in charge of two of Pharaoh's former officials, a cupbearer and a baker. And they both have these really troubling dreams. Joseph listens and interprets them, predicting two very different futures. In 3 days, he says, the cupbearer will get his job back, but the baker will be executed. And wouldn't you know it, he's exactly right.
But here's what's so important. Joseph takes zero credit for this amazing ability. He's always pointing out that the power to understand these dreams comes directly from God. He sees himself as just the messenger.
Joseph just makes one simple request of the cupbearer. Hey, when you get out, just remember me. But that little glimmer of hope, it gets totally crushed. As soon as the cupbearer is back in his fancy job, wrapped up in his own good fortune, he completely forgets about the guy who made it happen.
And Joseph is just left there. He waits. For 2 full years. The story really stretches out this moment, making you feel the tension and the true depth of how alone and forgotten he was.
And now, after 13 years of suffering, the story pulls off this absolutely breathtaking reversal. Joseph's trip from the bottom of a dungeon to the top of a palace, it happens with unbelievable speed.
So what kicks it all off? Well, it's Pharaoh himself. He's being tormented by 2 really disturbing dreams that none of his wise men or magicians can make any sense of. He sees 7 healthy, fat cows being eaten by 7 ugly, skinny ones, and then 7 big heads of grain being swallowed by 7 withered ones.
And that's when the cupbearer finally remembers. So Joseph is yanked out of the dungeon, he's shaved, given clean clothes, and then he's standing in front of the most powerful man in the world. And what's the first thing he does? He gives all the credit away, telling Pharaoh it's not me, but God will give you the answer you're looking for.
Joseph explains that the 2 dreams are actually the same message. He says that when a dream is repeated like this, it's a sign that the whole thing has been decided by God and it's gonna happen, like soon. And the meaning? 7 years of incredible abundance are coming, and they're going to be followed by 7 years of a horrible, devastating famine.
Pharaoh is just completely blown away. He doesn't just see a smart guy who's good with dreams, he recognizes a kind of wisdom that seems to be coming from a divine source. He looks at Joseph and sees the one person who is uniquely qualified to handle the crisis and save the entire nation.
And just like that, the reversal is complete. In a single scene, in what feels like a matter of hours, Joseph goes from being a forgotten Hebrew prisoner to the vizier of Egypt, the second most powerful man in the entire known world.
So, this final part of the story reveals the bigger picture, the reason behind all of Joseph's suffering. Because this was never just about him. It turns out it had huge global implications.
This moment also draws this amazing contrast with Joseph's own family history. You might remember his great-grandfather, Abraham, who actually deceived a pharaoh and got kicked out of Egypt. Well, Joseph becomes the total opposite. He's a source of immense blessing. He's the one who finally fulfills that old promise that Abraham's family would be a blessing to all the nations.
Just think about the timeline here for a second. He was sold into slavery at 17. For 13 long years, he put up with being a slave and a prisoner, and then at age 30, all of that suffering, all of that proven faithfulness, it put him in the perfect position to be the right man at the right time.
And Joseph's wisdom, his planning, it was so effective that Egypt didn't just survive, it thrived. He stored up so much grain that he basically became the savior for the entire region. The whole world, including his own family, the very brothers who sold him, ended up coming to him for help.
And that really leaves us with a huge question to think about, doesn't it? The story of Joseph powerfully shows us how one person's integrity, their faithfulness through unimaginable hardship, can get woven into a much, much larger story of redemption, a purpose far greater than they could ever have seen when they were stuck at the bottom of that pit.